There we go. Yay! Finally.
Just make sure. Okay. It went live here too.
All right. Yay. We are live now. Now, is the audio working?
Yes, I double checked it worked.
Cool. All right. What's up, everyone? I'm the Kaishino coming from the Toku Animation News Network, here with
Cruellica Kain, good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever ye shall be.
or very early in the morning if you're on the other side of the world.
Well, depending, yeah.
But we are here to talk about episodes 29 to 34 of Kamen Rider Gavv, or at least all we can remember from the episodes since we've watched them days ago.
Well, I've been refreshing myself.
I know, but
And I actually, in refreshing, I got to learn a little bit more about the series that I never actually thought about before. So now I'm like, oh my God, there's like a mystery and a mystery. There's like so many different things. It's mind-boggling.
because, well, I knew the Stomach family before were all named after, were different, their names were different languages that translated to tongue. But we just came to realize that the Stomach family's motif are based on Norse creatures.
So okay. So we found out that Lango is.
Fafnir,
Then we have Glota.
which is a kraken.
We have Jeebh.
Jeebh was a wolf. I forgot which exactly wolf.
Was it Fenrir?
No, not Fenrir. It's a type of wolf in Norse mythology.
Oh, okay. And then we have
well,
the one who passed.
Well, I didn't look up them because they're dead.
Wow, that's rude. So the sister, wow, now I'm really bad with names. I just bloody well looked at her. Hold on. I literally
Let me
just
move this
looked at
down.
her. Shita is Skull. So she's so she was a wolf that chased the sun. So that must mean, let me just double check, that Jeebh should be Hati,
Hati, that was it.
The wolf that chases the moon. So we have the sun and the moon.
Yes.
Because in Nordic mythology or Nordic beliefs, not everybody believes it is mythology, you have a creature that chases the sun as it goes through the day, and then you have a creature that chases the moon as it goes through the day. So with that in mind, here's a question for you. The only stomach family that we don't actually see their form for, because we even see, if you think about Shouma's form, what do you think Jeebh is?
Actually, what's the uncle?
Dente. I was just about to look up Dente. Oh yeah, al dente. Let me see.
Because that could also determine, because Dente could be a worm or a...
Well, yeah. Oh, there we go. Dente stomach. So his motif, they actually don't list what his motif is. Bastards.
Oh.
But he gives me like that, in truth, a reptilian form.
That, or I'm trying to think if there was a whale in.
Or whale, yes.
Like, I'm trying to think. No, I wouldn't say he reminds me of.
Well, if you look at it, it looks like his abdomen has like a fish type face to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He looks like a type of fish creature to me, and I'm trying to think of who the fish
of Nordic philosophy is.
Now I'm trying to remember what I also had encountered in God of War, because they did so much. Well, yeah, dente means tooth in Italian.
Oh, I was thinking of al dente for like the perfect temperature or cooking of pasta. Wow, you went way better than I did. But yeah, it doesn't say what his motif is. So moving on.
But yeah, I think he is some. Damn it, I can't think of those creatures that were.
Here, give me.
Oh well, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But
with that, who do you think he could be for Jeebh?
Jeebh, I'm thinking Jeebh is either going to be Sleipnir
Mm-hmm.
or
Jorgamon?
Yeah, Yogamanda.
Oh, is it Yogamond or Jorgamon?
Yogamanda.
Oh, so it's pronounced with a Y, not a J?
As far as I am aware, yes.
I'll have to watch my anime again.
Yogamanda.
But basically the world-eating snake, which would actually make sense if it was Yorgamond because of that. Because essentially it's like creating in and of itself, like creation. But so that was kind of interesting to learn. And the reason why we went down this rabbit hole, so not to just necessarily say, oh, we're looking up everything to go down a rabbit hole. It's because of our two newest characters that were introduced
in episodes 28 or 29.
29.
Because Jeebh gets married to a psychopathic.
Oh, sorry, wrong tone. The funeral march and the wedding march are actually the same song, but
different speed. But Jeebh gets married to some gothic Lolita creature, and who ends up being the daughter of the president of Groundnut World.
So we introduce ourselves now to Lizel
Jeldek.
And Lizel Jeldek, I am not even going to bother pronouncing who her motif is. I already said it to you. It's that Nyar
Tholepitep or something like that. I always forget how the spelling is exactly.
Because unfortunately, Lovecraft loved to use so many consonants and the minimal amount of vowels.
But yes, apparently the president and his daughter are based on Lovecraftian creatures because the president is based on Cthulhu.
And his name is Boca.
Which
Boca...
I'm just thinking Italian.
Well, because Boca, if I remember correctly, in Spanish, Boca means kiss, but that's B-O-C-A.
But, all right, so yeah, episode 29, Jeebh gets married, and we come to learn more about the politics side of the Groundnut World, because the Stomach family really is, they were just a company who were so small, they didn't even make, no one ever noticed they were...
It's Italian for mouth.
Okay.
Sorry.
No one actually noticed that they were selling drugs.
So it's kind of weird because in the series, we only see it from the Stomach family's perspective. Oh, that's a seraphim.
I looked at Kafka to me.
Oh. So we have this family, this business, the Stomach Corporation or Stomach Company, that is selling these treats, basically these candies. And apparently we find out the civilian class knows about them, but not the nobility. So one thing that we find out from the Groundnut World based on this, when we have the introductions of a new family member, the wife, is that there's two classes in the Groundnut World. You have the nobility and the civilian class.
Yep.
And we find out...
And the civilians are the ones who also own corporations.
Yes, because we find out that the Stomach family, who seems popular because of the dark confections, is part of the civilian class. They, as powerful as they are, have no rank. They can't actually affect the world. So when they find out that their daughter-in-law, or their sister-in-law, I mean, is the president's daughter, this is the first time in the series that we see Gavv expand his eyes, like in shock, because the actor does a really good job of keeping him incredibly stoic. Longo, who's like in it, you can actually see the oh fuck.
Now that was a scene. Deadpool showing up. He was smart. He wore the brown pants today.
Yes. Oh my God, Longo. Because Glota, she just gets angry, which makes sense when you think of her being the Kraken, because the Kraken is a violent creature. But Longo just being like, oh, mother.
And then Boca has a pretty awesome introduction, because we just see this guy walking down the hallway, kicking the ass of the familiars,
who are all Longo's Goshins.
Mm-hmm.
Or Gochizo. Or, yeah, Gochizos. But basically, all the people in red are Longo's familiars.
Well, yeah, actually, the Soto 2-pack that's coming out of the familiars, they come with stickers for each one, so you can make the army guys be whichever army you want them to be. Or you can buy them army build and have each set with their own one for each set.
But it was kind of fascinating when you find out about these people. And then Rakia shares that because of the way the classes are, the civilians do not get to elect their leaders. Only the nobility can elect the leaders for the entire Granite world.
Which is kind of like what Gun and Wing did, where it was the Romefeller Foundation got to elect the leaders of the world.
I almost think of it as like the Electoral College. Yes, we can put our votes in, but we don't necessarily, as the civilian class, get to actually make the decision of who wins.
Nope. But, so we got our first set of episodes have, what's her name? They get hired to participate in a basketball game.
It's Ritsu. Oh no.
No. Shouma, Sachika,
and Rakia.
They get hired to participate in a basketball game because the other members have just disappeared.
Which we find out one of the most amazing things about this series. One, all of the dark confection collectors of the ingredients, I don't know what the fuck to call them. The shepherds.
The drug dealers?
No, because drug dealers means they're the ones selling. They're the ones collecting the ingredients. So think of them like Jesse from Breaking Bad. So they apparently have a great communication system that tells them, almost like in a police way, be on the lookout for the Granite hunters. You have the traitor, Rakia. You have the little red Gavv, who they don't know is actually related to the owners of the company.
Yeah, they don't actually say who they is.
And then the rando dude who just also fights. And I don't mean to say diminish Hanto, but it's kind of funny because he doesn't have this like big story like the little red Gavv or the traitor. But so I say this because our monster of the two-parter is a genius. He sees on his phone.
Well, this is when they're at the game.
Yeah, at the game, he looks on his phone. He's like, oh. And he looks up and sees them on the field. He's like, okay, I need to be stealthy. I need to not make myself known. So after the game, when Rakia and Shouma are about to leave, well, everybody's about to leave in different paths. the monster of the week in human form.
No, that's a little bit later.
Oh.
Because this is after, because they tell Shouma and them, hey, yeah, we'd love to have you come back.
Yes, because
and then they were going to go celebrate. Then later, Shouma and them find out those guys never came back.
So they go back to the stadium.
And the one in the ground walks in front of by Rakia and starts freaking out.
And he points at him and says, the Hunter! And I'm like, you couldn't just suddenly walk by and then never get noticed. Because Rakia is not paying attention. He's just with a mission to walk into the building. So they would have been like ships passing in the wind, never engaging. Which I thought was hilarious because I'm like, you are an idiot. And then it gets better. So later in the second part.
Yeah, because their fight is interrupted because Lizelle appears and has a little thing with them where I think, if I recall, she just like swipes something and knocks into the ground.
Oh, yeah. She's just like, oh, so cool. Just moves her hand and everything is destroyed.
But then, so next part.
So in the next part, they're searching for where the Granute is.
No, they were trying to retrace what the basketball team was doing.
Yes, but they were searching for the Granute through that.
And
so they were retracing steps, and the one thing they talked about is, well, public bathrooms. Obviously, Shouma and Rakia are like, they thought the idea of a public bathroom was cool, but they look down upon their stomachs and they're like, we can't do this. So Hanto walks in because he's the only one who could walk in and take a public bath and not have an issue. So he walks in. He's never met the Granute in human form. So the Granute guy is sitting as the clerk of the
we don't see him yet. The camera is just the camera is turned, so you see Hanto him put his money down and say 1 bath. And then it goes and he walks away, and you still can't see the clerk until Rakia walks in, and Rakia looks, and then they
point each other like the Spider-Man meme, where they're all different Spider-Men pointing at each other. And the guy runs out. Rakia stands there because Hanto goes chasing with Shouma, and Sachiko comes in. And he looks at somebody else and he's like, I think they tried to find a room.
Well, yeah, they're trying to find the people who disappeared.
Yeah. So he's like, where's a room that nobody would go into? And somebody points.
I think it was the other employee.
Yeah, the other employee points to the back. So they find the case. And I think somebody else comes in fighting.
It was one of the familiars.
Yeah, one of the familiars comes in. And Rocky's fighting the familiar while Sachika is holding this briefcase, like trying to make sure she doesn't get damaged. Oh my Lord, it was like a comedy. And so you find out through all of this story that as I said, they have a great communication system. They hire the dread of society to collect ingredients because they're all dumbasses. Because we even get a better one later. But we also find out that Lizelle, she just randomly comes into the human world and just goes around enjoying life.
Well, then she told her dad, I want a house in the human world. So she gets a house and she's like, this is too small.
And this house for Japanese
is huge.
Like,
it's like 5 times this apartment.
Well, not necessarily. I'm thinking, like, for Japanese, it's gigantic. For American, it's kind of standard because most Americans need at least 700 square feet, except for the people who live in RVs. I don't know how they do it. And with all of our video games alone, we wouldn't be able to live in it.
They're minimalists. They can't have anything.
I used to be a minimalist, and then they married him. And I I'm trying to become a minimalist again as we move out of state. And I also remembered I married him. But this two-parter was hilarious. And because of the fact that you are pushing the story forward, because you see briefly how Jeebh meets Liesel. You find out that Liesel, in the next two-parter, found him and she is in love with his tragedy. And Jeebh...
Oh, no, that was this one.
It was this
Yeah,
one?
because... Because he had he was gripping Sheeta's broken human form doll, and she repaired it for him.
Yes.
And we also though have the start, because this is when an executive from the government shows up to have a meeting with Boca, and he introduces him to the Dark Confectionery.
This is where you learn that, yes, the Dark Confections are already an allegory for drugs. You then further get awareness. What the hell is that?
This is a disc lens.
No, what's on the disc?
A lens cleaner. It's like a little brush.
Oh.
I remember that. That never worked.
That scared me for a second. I was like, is there a bug on it?
No.
But, okay, moving back to my task after you freaked me out. We now see that the nobility was absolved from this drug abuse because of the classes having that clear separation. But with Boca becoming a part of the organization, we now have it where this is going to affect everybody.
Yep.
And so, as I was explaining to him yesterday when we were talking, because I did that Let's Talk about addiction and recovery not too long ago, that this series is a great example of seeing how addiction works when it's accessible. Because if you think about it, I'm going to exclude the drug companies right now, because pharmaceutical companies, there's a long story that can go with that. But when you have accessibility, it makes it easier for people to become susceptible to it and addicted to it. And the recovery, we already saw one person in this franchise try to recover from it, and they were punished for it.
Yep. Which... Oh, and the other thing I did like, we had Liesel. She goes back home, dumps out all the stuff she bought, shows it to her dad. It's like, yeah, look at all this cool stuff from the human world. And when she walks off, the dad says, go and burn it. She'll get out of this phase soon.
So I have feelings about how this is going to progress the story. And not negative feelings. I like the tonal shift in a way, because it's going to play with you. Now, before we go to the next ones, I figured we'll go through the comics real quick.
Comics?
Comments.
Okay.
So we have the A Games and Mr. Arrowverse.
And Deny.
And Deny, well, Deny and Power to 99. From what I see, y'all say hello. So hi, everyone.
Let's see, and we've got Udis and Star Wars fan.
Oh, yes.
As well.
So hello, everyone.
And Zero Hopper.
So one of the questions from D9, not related to the episodes, but I think it's a fair question. Do you think if just like, sorry, I'm trying to read.
If you just rank the MCU's Phase 5 films.
Are we in Phase 5?
We've been in Phase 5 since whatever came out after Far From Home.
Far From Home ended Phase 4?
Yeah.
But...
Oh, wait. Phase 5. No, Phase 5 just started with
Captain America?
I think so. Or
because I know there wasn't supposed to be like this big blockbuster film.
I don't even remember which one starts Phase 5. I just remember that Phase 4 is just garbage, except for No Way Home and somewhat Guardians 3 and somewhat Doctor Strange 2.
So yeah, I don't know how to rank them because I'd have to look up to see what started.
I guess Thunderbolts and then Brave New World.
And Brave New World is like really bad in my opinion.
Ugh.
So also Power 99 also asked, do we know what Jeebh is based off of? And
Not yet.
Not yet. We can make our own conspiracy theories, but any thoughts of Zeetz's rumor with the design as Green Tiger and also the rumor with Belt Sling Bag?
No, because I haven't actually paid attention to the Zet's
That's
rumors.
the next Rider series?
Yes.
Okay. Thea Games says, love the opening, got updated a bit, and that that shows how big the castle for the Grand New President is, which is a big place on the outside, while the inside looks so shiny. That sounds like what our friend Chris Bloodborne was
shiny.
He loves shiny. And not shiny as in money. He thinks of shiny as anything new. It doesn't have to be like gold or silver either. It could be a new video game. And he's like, look at the shiny I got. I love the word shiny just because it reminds me of him.
And then I just think of the shiny song from Moana. Or not Moana. Wait, that was Moana that did shiny, right?
I actually, to be fair, don't remember Moana except for the thank you song. Just because I heard all the renditions of it.
Yeah, now I'm trying to think of which.
Or You're Welcome, I mean.
Yeah.
I don't. So Yuda says, both of you look lovely today. Oh, you're so sweet. I love the compliments like that. Keep them coming. No, joking aside, I appreciate that. It's been a long few months for me specifically, just because my work outside of this has been insane. That's one of the lunch boxes that we give away at Lockheed. The company I work for. You know, the one that's evil. I don't think it's evil, but the world does. Star Wars fan, hello, Cruellica Kain. I know we already said hello, but hello again. And the A Game says, also the Gochizo in episode 29.
Well, you missed that Star Wars fans said
sorry.
they finished Trigger, becoming their least favorite.
Because of Smile, Smile. I sincerely agree. Smile, Smile.
Yeah,
is a hard one.
I am going to take as long as I can to do my review of Trigger.
Better have other shit to be able to put out.
Die Ranger. My Sentai re-reviews will get 4 times the amount of views of any Ultraman review I do.
Which is kind of sad if you think about it at the same time.
That's why I'm prioritizing Jew Ranger over Zet.
Okay. So, the A Games with the Gojizo in episode 29. Basically a lot of popcorn that attacks.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about the popcorn.
Yeah, I can't say it was exactly a pop hit with me.
Wow, that was reaching.
Because, yeah, it would go up, because when the monster ran up the tree, it was...
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Because it went all the way up, and when he fell, he was like... They were basically landmines.
Well, the hard part with the Gochizos is I adore them all, like, because I love their unique personalities. But... especially the pudding one that seems like she's a haughty bitch. I just love it. But it's just sometimes certain new ones don't get a lot of notice compared to others. And then we have Yuda says, I seriously thought that the main problem for Gavv would be cavities, and now they're alluding to adult themes like this. Right? No, I thought when we were going to have a food-based Rider series.
It would be about candy addiction.
I didn't even think it would be about candy addiction. I was like, it was kind of like with Gaim. when they were doing the like the fruit ninja motif. I'm like, what the hell? How are we? But I also thought the same thing for Geats. And Geats had some adult themes, but this series, it made me question Japanese culture. Because in American culture, especially if you hear the talking heads or if you're on YouTube, you hear about things like the big H, the big F word, and not the swear word kind, but the drug kind. You hear about all of these things with the cartels, and you hear about addiction. So you know that there's issues within America, narcotic wise. But in Japan, you don't hear about that. You don't hear about big stings or a lot of drugs. So having a series tackling adult themes like addiction, it makes me wonder, is that on the rise? And it's always possible, but like, wow. Okay. So we're going away from the environment and talking about let's stop being addicted. So I wonder, but yes, this series is definitely making you think, and it's doing it in a very well done way because they're using candy. And they're using candy that truthfully to me looks disgusting.
Well,
it looks like a glob of solidified gravy.
It looks like caramel to me.
I don't get caramel because it looks green. It looks like puke green in like a gravy packet. And I'm like, I've tried some random ass shit, but no thank you. Zero Hopper says Hoppa Hoppa. Are we zeroing? And he really loved, or they really loved No Way Home. D9 said, I know this is a weird question, but did you hear that Dragon Ball Daima is now nominated Kids' Choice Award for Favorite Cartoon and is the second anime series to get nominated since Pokemon in the last 25 years? That's actually really cool. I don't know much about the Kids' Choice Awards, admittedly, because I've never, even as a kid, if it was around, I never paid attention.
I paid attention like the first two, I think, when I was growing up.
What year did they start? Like 90s?
It was sometime in the 90s.
Because
at least if I'm thinking of the right ones, yeah, it was sometimes in the 90s.
Which is, and it's cool because if anime is getting American recognition, I am always for that because, one, it demonstrates that we are engaging in a more international perspective, but that kids are enjoying things rather than some of the crap that I've seen out there. And Zero Hopper, please don't say smile, smile. It's terrifying. And then Zero Hopper also says, but Vegetable Rider season tackles serious issues too. Okay, if we do a vegetable series, I want them to tackle, let's see, what serious issue could they tackle with vegetables that has nothing to do with vegetables? Because candy addiction, sure, you can go there. Maybe vitamin deficiencies.
Well, I was going to say, you could always tackle health. Well, they already did health with X8.
I actually don't feel like they did health right.
But you could tackle health because it could turn you into a vegetable.
Okay.
Get it?
Go home. Go home. I know you live here, but go.
Okay, hold on. I'll go. Hold on.
Where are you going? Okay, he's actually leaving. So moving on. And yet
I'm home.
And yet SpongeBob will win favorite cartoon again like it always does. Okay, to be fair, SpongeBob is this cartoon amalgamation that talks about way too many adult issues that terrify us.
Created by Nickelodeon. Kids' Choice Awards, created by Nickelodeon. You think?
Oh, Kids' Choice Awards is Nickelodeon owned?
Yeah.
But to be fair, SpongeBob, I have watched some episodes, and it actually makes me think if I got high, these episodes would be on like a peak scale of like blowing my mind. Like, just.
Dude, it's a sponge.
Well,
and it's talking.
Okay, I am not endorsing drugs, okay?
Well, no, we see what this show is saying about drug addiction.
Yes. But let's see. YouTube finally recommended your stream when it's on. That's from Kubernet Pirata.
Kubernet Pirata.
That's awesome. Thank you. So all the hard work you've been doing.
It finally recommended the stream as it's airing. Wow.
But that shows that your hard work and effort is starting to pay off. Okay. So yay, honey. Thank you for sharing that. That's great news.
I'd say accepted 2008 when Avatar won.
And then EA Game says, Cruellica, if you need to know, all you need to know is that SpongeBob always wins the cartoon category all the time, other than the 1 to 2 times in the late 2000s for KCA. What's KCA?
Kids' Choice Award.
Oh. And then Chemicals and Vegetables from Kubernetes. Actually, that's a good one. Organic versus mass production.
Or do you mean like
for because organic, they tend to not put pesticides. The assumption is organic vegetables don't have pesticides, where you're running the mill the funny thing is all vegetables are organic. It's so when they say organic versus not, I'm like, well, technically they're organic.
Well, no, I thought it was that organic ones were ones that were grown without the use of
pesticides. Yes.
No, without the use of materials to help them grow bigger.
Oh, so like the.
That's why,
like not HMOs. What are they called?
That's why organic strawberries will be smaller looking than the regular strawberries.
Yeah, there's a term for what that is.
No, pesticides I don't think has truly anything to do with it.
Well, pesticides are harmful chemicals that actually, if they're not, because they prevent the bugs and everything like that, but ingested by humans is not actually.
If I recall, it's organic is more towards the fruits and vegetables that were not given growth enhancements.
Yeah, there's a 3-letter acronym, but I like that. GMO. Thank you. Growth hormone something. Because HMO is medical. So Salad Rider tackles the healthcare system. Oh, it's kind of funny when you see all of these different things tackling stuff. You're like, what can we do now?
Here we go. Brown rice. Because you can include rice in there for vegetables. But brown rice comes up. I start out as a good guy. Starts attacking. But you were supposed to be the hero. I'm brown rice. I'm not actually healthy for you.
Then we have Powered 99 said, we did fruit. We're doing candies. Bring on the vegetables. Well, why not? Bring on all the food groups. Except for maybe doing one on meat-based. I don't know how that would go because...
You mean when the rider could have an actual literal meat shield?
And then Zero Hopper says, plot twist, Zeets is the vegetable rider. That would actually be hilarious.
See, I still say Zets is a soap theme.
Because of Zest? With Zest fully clean?
It's not clean if it's not Zets fully clean.
Oh, God. And Kuberete said, chemicals and vegetables, human trafficking in agricultural industry, dying local farmers losing out to cheaper labor and automation. Holy shit, you're going deep. I love it. And then the A Game says SpongeBob was created by Steven Hillenburg, who passed away, and it airs on Nickelodeon, not made by. I did it. Admittedly, I don't know much except I've seen it. Or Zero Hopper's idea of generational trauma. I would be interesting to see how any series from anywhere could handle generational trauma, because each generation is screwed over. And the A Game says, when's the Potato Rider? Like Zaku Zaku form. Or in Zero Hoppers.
But actually, that could be the main rider form, potato, because then he could be a sweet potato form, mashed potato attack.
You just want to hear it say, I'm a potato. I know it's not I'm a banana, but. Or Zero Hopper says, where's my perfume form? Which, I hope it's not soap. Unless we're going to go on the elements of cleanliness.
Well, no, because supposedly Zetz is actually a sound for perfume that they use to personify perfume.
The problem is I can't watch that show then because I'm allergic to perfumes.
You're not going to smell the show. It's not going to have smell-o-vision, just so you know.
Smell-o-vision never even fucking worked in the first place. Because you couldn't smell from the TV, even though they tried to make you think you could back in the 80s. You had to get like this little sheet and scratch on it to smell.
So if we're going to do a perfume rider, then the villain has to be a whale.
Why? Because most perfumes are made of whale fat or whatever it is.
Whale puke.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's not whale puke because they actually have to harm the whale to get what it is. I hate, so Kubernete says, I hate modern Kamen Riders for their toy-like gimmicks, but I suppose they could play with the combo idea of pairing vegetables for better taste, nutrition, environment. I understand the gimmick, and unfortunately, when you're selling a show to children, you have to find a reason for them to want to buy it. You also have to find a reason for parents to say it's kind of okay to have their kids watch this show. Because back in the 80s, in early 90s, when we had like Transformers, G.I. Joe, at the end of the fucking episodes, they had this moral of the day.
Whale love juice, you mean?
Oh, most likely.
That's what the second to last comment is. Whale love juice, you mean? But
you can smell a show? Wow. Thank you, Zero Hopper. Yes, I can. I can smell things and it makes me
And then
feel.
Power to 99 said you could do different types of rocks and metals. Supposed to, that would be confident not to give, because granules eat different types of rocks and metals.
And Kubernete says the whale love juice.
Yeah, that's Perfume Rider fights Death Animal Monster. Plot twist, next Rider show will actually be a toy rider that uses toy items like toy bows, toy swords, and action figures.
If there was a toy within a toy type of Kamen Rider, because essentially they make their gimmicks to be toys.
And you could say that Toei is toying with us. Or Toei is toying with us. Yeah. Where's my sunglasses?
Not close enough, which I'm very grateful for.
Actually, they're back there, but oh well.
You also do the worst memes, jokes, whatever.
Let's move on to episodes 31 and 32, which introduce, you dirty Mantis, you killed my brother.
Which he didn't kill his brother. So this is our
part one is a very silly episode.
Well, I was gonna say I call this two-parter the buddy cop, because you come to see this tension between Rakia and Hanto, mainly because of the fact that Hanto has a beef with Granuts. Rakia has a beef with anybody who he feels is stupid.
No, who you feel sucks.
Or is stupid. So basically, they have a hard time dealing with each other because of their animosities. Well, I can't remember if it was this episode or next episode. Oh, this episode. Because it starts off with them arguing and both of them leaving for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Hanto,
Hanto left because
I was about to say why he left.
He was going to research possible Shouma's mother's home, gets to this place, and it turns out it's that someone with the same name, but it's a girl's brother who disappeared.
That's named Mishuru.
And they're like, and he finds out he disappeared after going to a barber shop.
And then as he leaves to go investigate the barber shop, he literally runs into Rakia, who is investigating because his favorite pudding vendor, because this man is obsessed with pudding,
putting it lightly,
has disappeared as well. So they go to a barber shop because that's where Hanto is going. And they were both going to go in because Rakia wants to basically go bust in. But Hanto makes him sit down. He's like, just sit over there. I thought when he said sit over there, there was like a seat. No, he's sitting on the ground.
Well, and then Hanto goes in there, and the barber's like, oh, I gotta leave. I'm done after this. Well, please, I really need to do that. Okay, fine, go sit down there, which was an actual seat. And he's just looking around and sees stuff that belonged to Michiru Inoue guy that he had in the photo.
Yeah, that was in like a bag, just tucked out of the way.
And then Rakia, though, walks in.
Because he's bored.
And all of a sudden, the guy's like, oh, you're the granite hunter!
Because they don't recognize Hanto out of suit. They only recognize him when he's henshined into his rider form. But apparently Rakia, who is incredibly tall, Japanese terms, I actually have to look at how tall the actor is because he is gigantic. Or appears to be gigantic. So they start fighting. And Rakia and Hanto don't know how to fight as a team. They're both fighting, and they haven't even really gotten a chance to fully transform yet. Because they're fighting with each other about the monster. The monster spits on them, so to speak.
And they end up putting them together, like both their hands together. So we have like a situation where from Ginga Man, where Green and the father glued their hands together.
Mm-hmm.
But so they're stuck together. So now we have this little comedic aspect going on of them having to work together, but not very well.
That's where I said the whole buddy cop.
With the being stuck together. Trying everything they can, but the best part was Sachiko with the chainsaw. And it's a pink colored chainsaw.
So, okay. Well, there's a couple of things here. So we have first, after they get tied together, because their hands are like this and this.
Well, that's because they've got the thing around.
Yeah, but I'm just saying how they are. So they have to transform. So my favorite part of before we get to Sachika is they're transforming. So Rakia transforms first, and you have the pudding coming up.
No, that's later.
No, it was right when they're about to fight.
No, the first time when they went to transform, they start arguing because Hanto was in front of Rakia, so the monster ran away. This is the second time after when Sachika was trying to.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me go to Sachika then. So Sachika first has a hammer and, oh God, like a pin to try to,
Chisel?
huh?
Chisel?
Yeah, a chisel to get it apart. That doesn't work. She then pulls out, like you shared, a full-size pink chainsaw. Then the piece de resistance, dynamite. She pulls out 3 pieces of dynamite, sticks it on their hands, then walks around. She has a pink, what's it called?
Oh, the
Switch,
detonator? The
detonator. A pink detonator. And they're both like, no, no, no. And they both run around to grab her, to stop her. And then you see, as Rakia is still holding her away, Hanto is like pulling away the wick from the dynamite so it can get. And I'm like, what in the world is this woman doing with actual dynamite? So then they go off to fight the guy. They're still together. Rakia transforms. Pudding is coming up. And you start to see Hanto like choking for air because he's starting to suffocate until he starts to transform.
Yeah, that was. Well, I love how he's trying to show the Gachizo, like transform the Gachizos. They're like, what? What?
Oh, that
Oh!
Gochizo was trolling him. Trolling him.
But yeah, that was hilarious when he's just because I'm like, okay, how's this gonna work? Oh, he's actually in the cup with them.
I actually, in my mind, I was like, is this the way Hanto dies? Are we just gonna be stuck with zombie Hanto?
He drowns in pudding.
For some people, that might be a dream, but so that was actually quite hilarious. And then once they get taken apart, you find out that there's a slash on the tree that looks like the slash on Komel.
First, so his slashes destroyed them from being tied together, and then he throws it again, and Hanto was in the middle of jumping away.
Yes,
and Rakia grabbed him. So then suddenly they get stuck with Rakia's hand on Hanto's leg.
Yeah.
So they have to use another slash to break free again, and that's where the monster got away, and then they noticed the slash on the tree.
And so they find
and then Rakia's like, wait, that's the slash that was on my brother's back.
No, he says Komel. He just says Komel.
Well,
he doesn't say brother.
I'm paraphrasing.
I know. Hanto doesn't know this. So they have to go get themselves a little fixed up. So they go to Shuga's place. And this is where we get that scene that you can visualize having weights upon weights upon weights falling on Hanto's shoulders. Because Hanto is like, well, why do you keep on calling me stupid? And Rakia runs down the list. He's like, well, you got mad at Shouma for not telling you that he's a Granu, even though it makes sense. You punch Shouma when he tells you about your mother. You accuse Shouma of being evil when it's Bitter Gavv, and you clearly know it's not him. And then it goes on, and you just see you visualize all these weights falling onto Hanto's shoulders of like, yeah, you're an idiot. Yes, you're stupid. But they do actually have a really good scene.
Well, and then he tells him who Komel is.
Komel.
And then Hanto's like, I get it. He's like, you can't get it. He's like, no, actually, I get it because my mom, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
he tells a story about that and talks about how it was for 18 years?
Before he learned
what happened to his mom. And Rakia just looks at him like, oh my God. So, as joking as I can be about the weights falling because of the stupidity, this was an incredible scene where you had two characters engage and really come to figure out a way to trust each other. Is it perfect? By no means it is, but it was a great scene that helped propel these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we get into the fighting again,
which was pretty cool on the scaffolding and everything.
yes,
I liked the camera as it was maneuvering around the
I
scaffold.
did feel bad for the suit actors every time they had to plummet to the ground.
But then we have
But it was all
the
actual
Mantis,
real screen.
But the Mantis was like, when he asked, "Did you kill my brother?" "Oh, I don't know. Maybe you need to beat me to find out."
And then he does start to beat him, and he's like, "No, I didn't do it. I didn't
But
do
I
it."
love how he just took the chainsaw hockey stick and slashed his throat with it.
Oh, it was pure brutality.
I loved it.
But I think it was healing. Even though it wasn't the man who killed, or the person who killed his brother, it helped just to take away some of that pain he was feeling.
And then,
do you want to read more comments before we go to the next
well, hold on. Then we had the nobility guy from Grounded World come up to the president like, "I need more confections. I need more confections of whatever you gave me." And he introduces Yolongo to the guy. And he's like, "Well, if you want more confections, you have to do stuff for me." And has Nielev operate on the guy.
Yes, because Magen, the executive that we're talking about, or the nobility or whatever.
I think he was the finance minister, he said.
But we have Magen become Bitter Gavv.
But so that leads into our next episode. But yeah, do you want to? I need to go blow my nose real quick.
Okay, have fun. So apparently, just for no one's interest except for my own, the actor who plays Rakia is 6'2", which is pretty tall for Japanese. Let's see. Oh, Zero Hopper, you actually asked a question, so thank you. And you also mentioned the secondary rider could be the Bionicle theme. Oh my God, Bionicle, the other version of the Lego type builders. Kubernete, you say it's too cartoony for your liking, which I can understand that. And admittedly, I don't think every Kamen Rider the gimmick is going to be to our taste, but it's kind of cool when you can think of different things and have these nice little headcanons of what they can be. Don't pick on him, Zero Hopper. Everybody likes what they like, and there's nothing wrong with Kubernete being pretty cool with it. And yeah, I can understand it's been done to death in anime and different things. Everything can still vary based on it. So I like all ideas, and this is not to say that some people can be too cool for school, so to speak, but even if we use a silly gimmick like toys, as long as the story has a seriousness to it, like we have here, super serious, I don't mind. I can personally step away from the childishness of it. And then the A Game says, if the show wanted to make me laugh even more, they should have had Shouma walking in during the dynamite part. Oh my God. Shouma would probably have been like, what does this do? Oh, because his curiosity is off the charts. And yes, I agree with you, Kubernete. Hanto is very much human in his emotions. And in truth, all of the things that Hanto did that, yes, we can jokingly call him stupid for, makes sense. Because knowing how angry he was against the Granudes, I understand why Shouma was hesitant. And I think in the back of his mind, Hanto understands that as well.
Where are you for the comments?
I finished with
Because did you talk about Seconds a Technic Rider, Lego Brick Rider,
Oh
Technic
no,
Rider,
I so missed that. I'm sorry.
Cobb's Rider,
Okay, so Cooper Net Day says gimmicks annoy me, plot heavy, and grim dark show right. So okay, I missed, so I understand the conversation now. Gimmicks annoy him. I will say between the two of us, I live for gimmicks.
I don't mind gimmicks if they are integrated into the show smartly. It's when they just completely are out of place. Like a lot of the newer Ultraman shows, the gimmicks were getting completely out of place.
Yeah, I enjoy gimmicks because I actually have boxes of gimmicks I need to display at some point. But I enjoy the gimmicks if they're fun. However, I at the same time want a story to go with those gimmicks, even if they don't work together. Like the stamps, those were kind of cool for me, but certain gimmicks just don't attract me. Like for Geats, I don't want any of their gimmicks. I think it was cool for the show, but sometimes you also have a problem if there's too many gimmicks.
Well, and that's I will say that is probably the one area that Gavv has gotten a little frustrating in is he's gotten all these forms that have been, some of them have not been used after 2 times. Like we've already replaced the ice cream form, and he hardly used it.
Yes,
which sucks because I really like that form. But
well, and Zero Hopper says Third Rider could be a CCBS. What's a CCBS?
Where are you seeing CCBS? I see Cobb's. Oh, that's C. Oh, okay. I don't know.
And then edgy is cool. Every time somebody says edgy, I think of Transformers with girl bots like edgy.
Oh, you mean Waspinator when he was thrust? Chicks dig Loner Bot.
Yes, because that's what I think of edgy. And then the A games. This next 2-parter is more filler to me for the first part, which I can appreciate. This 2-parter with Rakia and Hanto is complete filler for the most part. Yes, you have story sprinkled in, but this is filler solely for the purpose of a little bit of breathing room and character development.
You know what? I was just thinking about something because the next comment is Power Ranger 99 saying that their money's on Glota.
I actually do.
No,
believe.
I don't think that.
Really?
Glota's a Kraken. It was a wolf. What if Jeebh is actually Fenrir, and he was the one who captured Hanto's mom?
So you think it could be Jeebh instead of Jorgemond or anything else we were thinking of?
He could be Fenrir. Or it could have been the father was Fenrir.
So you think even the father could have done it?
Possibly. But
well, if the father was still alive at that point, he could have done it in protection of his son, assuming that she was kidnapping Shouma. Because the one thing that we do know about Zomb Stomach.
But Hanto said, if I recall, Hanto said it was a wolf form that
kidnapped his mother.
Kidnapped his mother. Well, Glota's a Kraken, not a wolf. But we haven't seen Jeebh's form yet. So it could be Jeebh is a wolf as well, just like...
Well, do you think Komel's brother was attacked by a wolf? With the arcing slash.
Oh, I was thinking of Hanto's mom.
No.
Oh, Glota for...
Yeah, for Komel.
Okay, that, yes. But it was just thinking on me with Hanto's mom. Hanto saying
that could have been Jeebh.
Yeah, especially because they seem intent on not showing us Jeebh's running form.
If that's been done.
So
Gavv form it's called because they have Gavs. That's their.
I know, but what I'm saying is we haven't seen Jeebh's actual form.
Well, and
So
that's
it's-
been purposefully.
And that's why I think it was just occurring to me that he's probably the one that actually captured Hanto's mom, and that if the wolf could be Fenrir then.
Okay, I can see that. Now, Star Wars fan says heavy or grim dark show, then urban legend themed writer series would sound like a great idea. I am all for that because I love urban legends and conspiracy theories, so I would so take it. Next rider will be a Lego brick rider. Oh my god. Looks like they are stretching their plot into two-parters, and I'm not complaining since things actually happen.
Well, most writers have been two-parters for the last forever ago.
But he does feel Kubernetes does feel the barbershop episode was too childish, which I can appreciate that because I think you and Silverquill also got childish feels.
Oh yeah, that was very silly. Yeah, because we were both like, "Oh, this is gonna be one of those silly episodes."
Because I took it as like the partner cop type thing.
But
like
fortunately,
Tango
the
and
second
Cash.
half got a lot more serious.
Kubernetes did agree with Zero Hopper. It looks like imagine the edgy and grimdark as a Lego brick theme, and he liked that. I think that would be pretty cool. And then the A Game said, I laughed when Sachika almost tried to use dynamite as a solution for the monster's glue trap. I wasn't aware Sachika had dynamite lying around. I don't think anybody had ideas that she had that lying around. And I also am concerned that she needs to be on a watch list of some sort because regular people don't have the ability to own dynamite. You have to sign papers to get
regular
that shit.
people also don't paint their house to look like that visual nightmare she has.
Well, okay. So the three of us, and I'm going to include Silverquill, who's mysteriously not here, but think of him in spirit on the other side.
How is he mysteriously not here? He's just not here. There is no mystery. He's not here. There is no mystery behind it.
Nonetheless, we all three agree that Sachika has money.
Oh, hell yeah.
She comes from money. There is some reason why she has an infinite bank book that their jobs are practically.
Especially in the next episode. Oh, instead of buying all kinds of snacks, we just bought all the equipment to make our own snacks. Like, what? Okay.
Which is cheaper. In that perspective. But, Sachika with dynamite. So that's where I'm caught up. So thank you, honey, for that. Because that's where Zero Hopper asked about how tall and the Bionicle theme. Let's see. Okay. If this show wanted me to make laugh anymore, that's where the Shouma with the dynamite came in from the A Games. Hanto is glad that Choco is dead.
Oh, yes. It was Niev who goes introduced to the butler. Or, not the butler, the finance minister.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, because of the device. And that's where we have the Hanto is very much human. Zero Hopper says Rakia's brother died because he smelled. He had to go. He smelled.
I think he smiled.
Yeah.
He smiled.
Yes.
I don't mind Rider versus Rider when it's done. Not when it's not overkill. This series, fortunately, has not done Evil Riders in an overkill manner.
And thank you for clarifying that. The on Niev. And weapon props look like cheap plastic. Should have went with tire rubber.
V3 versus Destron or Stronger versus Delta. It depends because Black did it best with Black and Shadow Moon. So I don't mind Evil Riders, but I don't want nothing but Evil Riders.
So Zero Hopper thinks next rider should be rubber. Kubernetes asks a question.
Next rider should be rubber. So the secondary rider should be blue and everything sticks to you.
Well, Kubernetes, you put, sure, make him work in rubber-related jobs. Quick question for you. What is a rubber-related job?
Actually,
I'm asking honestly.
Here's an idea for a Toku show. The main character is a janitor. He tries his best not to have anything destroyed while he's fighting because he knows he's going to have to be the one to clean it up.
No. No.
Especially like they're fighting down a building. Don't break a window. Don't break a window. Don't break a window because I'm going to have to be the one to repair it.
Okay, that would be kind of funny. Why don't we just have an HR Kamen Rider? Have all the fighting based around HR laws.
Can't do that. That's an HR violation.
It would probably be, I will say, from somebody who works in HR, the boringest series in humanity next to Accounting Rider.
I don't know. I mean, we had Tokusatsu Ga Ga Ga.
But they didn't transform into riders!
Yes, but it was a show revolving around office people.
Yes.
But anyway. Let's see. Ice cream form was so useless, which sucks because I love the design.
The A Game says this two-parter was just enjoyable filler to me with the glue trap between two people who really didn't like each other. I agree. That's kind of my shtick. I like those types of episodes when you can have just silly fun and propel it. Because in truth, I live for, like, my shtick is horror movies, so I live for dark. But I like those bright and cheery and ridiculous episodes sometimes, just because it gives levity.
Well, I think it also was there to balance out all the deep storytelling in the next episode with Hanto and Rakia giving their backstories to one another.
Yes.
And then...
I have the best conspiracy theory in this. So I read the A Games, and Kubernetes says, gotta need intensity and real danger, just not two Jews whacking and trading sparks. Zero Hopper says the best conspiracy theory ever. I think it was Gottard who killed Lakia's brother.
Gottard. Want grunts back? Well, we technically do have the grunts back with the familiars in this one.
Yes, I think we do have that a little bit, though. But I understand what he's saying.
Grunts, though, are usually worthless. I don't mind not having grunts. That's a Sentai thing. Let Sentai have grunts.
So, Zero Hopper says, chat Soda Rider when Cold Drink Rider is MC. Soft drink and his main character. Soft drink is secondary, but hot drink is third. And Kubernetes is like Build, which is pretty much, I would agree. Build had kind of a similar thing there where you had that progression. So Zero Hopper says Sachika needs a Monster Rider hunting weapon. Kubernetes says, nah, she's a good side character. Too much riders in a show just dilutes character development. Oh my god, he is like your spirit animal.
And then, let's see. I want rival monsters back. That would be cool.
And thank you, Kubernetes. Harvest Riders, manufacturing, recycling tires. Thank you. I actually really legitimately didn't know what rubber-related jobs were out there. So I love learning something new like that. Okay, HR Rider, thank you, Kubernetes, would be a good villain for an episode. I'll take it. HR is the villain. Fun fact, HR doesn't protect employees. Not fully at times.
It's protecting the company from getting sued.
Well, no, we really do protect employees. I don't want to completely say we don't.
Uh-huh.
But generally, it's always the question of, do you want to get sued? No? Then you do this. I don't know, Zero Hopper, if I could do a Rider series that was a soap opera with the secondary being a sitcom. I think it's awesome in perspective, but I don't know if that would ever work. The A Games questions you, my dear. So this potential janitor main rider show, would his job be for the whole town or its buildings, or would he have a job in a single building?
He'd be the maintenance man for the entire town.
Of 4 blocks. Because we've come to the conclusion that any neighborhood in the Kamen Rider universe, even though this one shows more than 4 blocks, is really a 4-block radius.
Yeah, it's a 4-block radius. You've got a 4-block radius, a gravel pit in the center. You have your little abandoned warehouse district. You have your park with your block of homes. You have your business district.
Now, I wonder if they're like Warner Brothers, where they actually have like a set that's built. Like, because obviously when we went to Warner Studios for that tour, how they actually have houses that are functional houses because staff works out of them. But if they have like a set with all of these things, or if they just have to go on location.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the houses are like, if there's a block that is an actual block of sets.
Because I know it wouldn't just be for Toku, it would be for so much. Because now that I watch so many more, now that I've seen the thing, when I watch movies, I'm like, I know exactly where you filmed. So I actually want to go to Canada sometimes and see their studios, see if it's the same thing. But
let's see, where were we?
So the A Game says Sachika's hunting weapon, dynamite. No. I already tell my friend Chrysalis Bloodborne and my husband here, no flamethrower. So I'm going to say to Sachika, no dynamite.
Fine, she can have a chainsaw.
Well, she already has a chainsaw.
No, I'm saying she can be like the Doom guy.
So
Sachika girl.
So Zero Hopper says that Gotchard thought Rakia's brother was a chemi or amalgam, so he killed him and regretted it and ran away. And Sachika doesn't need, and I agree with you, Zero Hopper. I think everybody does. I don't think Sachika needs a rider form. I think she needs to be like the, oh God, what's her name from Double? With the slipper, Akiko, where she just needs to be that side character that is ingrained in the plot and a part of the story, but not an actual fighter.
Someone was actually trying to blame the low toy sales on there not being a female rider this year.
But there the majority of
because the last
I think you need to plug the computer in. I don't know what that says.
Oh, yeah. That says energy saver turned on.
Okay. But the vast majority of Kamen Rider shows did not have a female rider.
Right, but because this is the lowest toy sales of the Reiwa era, they're saying it's because there is no female rider. So,
see, I can't agree with that unless you have some sort of justification, like a lot of female, unless you could verify that a lot of female rider gimmicks and figures sold, you can't say that.
I totally agree, Pirate, on them not riding bikes through the city. Sadly, that's actually more to do with Japanese laws these days than production stuff. So in Japan, you're no longer allowed to ride unauthorized motorcycles in the cities.
So basically, a Kamen Rider bike, which literally looks like an unauthorized vehicle, would never be able to do that.
That's the reason they don't use bike riding action that much anymore, is because they can't get the permits to film riding scenes in the city in the time span they need. Because to get a permit to ride in a city for a production, they have to get approval from every single household in the radius that they would be filming in. And if they don't get, and it's just too much time consuming for them to do it in a TV show's filming schedule.
Well, that makes sense.
So that is the reason why we don't have bike sequences anymore that often, which I think sucks and it's stupid.
But laws are laws.
Because, well, apparently when this law was created, they didn't actually account for for entertainment using their own vehicles. So it's like it's a
glitch in a way,
an unknown consequence, because you're not allowed to ride any motorcycles that aren't actually manufactured by an actual authorized manufacturer. And it is not a motorcycle that looks like it's supposed to be real, because apparently it's some law to take out biker gangs that were riding customized motorcycles.
Well, I can understand that. There is a safety aspect and things like that.
But it has ruined aspects of. That's why a lot of Sentai characters now no longer have their own vehicles like older series had.
Well, they'll have cars, but not the other.
But they'll be regular cars, not special.
That's why Drive had a regular car. That's why Boon Boonger had a regular car. Okay. Now, Kubernetes, I do have to say I like drama-heavy Rider series, because when I think of drama-heavy, I do think of like Fives, Ryuki, Blade,
Kuga, Agito.
Yeah.
All early Heisei.
But there are some, if you think about it, you have a little bit of drama-heavy. Like, Geats had a lot of drama to it. And then Zero Hopper says, soap opera writer main character is trying to be normal and having a moment, and sitcom writer comes in with the audience laugh track. I would have to noodle on that, because I'm not sure. And then Star Wars fan is, how about a Kamen Rider series that is like Noragami, since Noragami started out as a monster of the week with the Phantoms? I've actually never seen Noragami. Isn't that an anime?
I think so. I think Sam has it, or David, one of them.
And Yuda says, if Kamen Rider, instead of fights, would have music playing battles, they could even maintain the rider kicks. Now they just have to add some sort of rider snares, rider beats.
Oh, God. Kick, punch, chop.
And Kubernetes said, as long as the character is not one-dimensional. And it also says, like Hibiki, but better. I actually, truthfully, do want a music-themed Rider series. And while Hibiki was good, first part more so, I don't know how well they could do it. That's the hard part. So I would love to see it tried. And then Zero Hopper is still with Gotchard being a hated series because they think he needs to be behind bars. And Yuda says for a music theme series, it would have to be no fighting, but actual music battles. I'm trying to think of the one video game that I have that the detectives or spies were doing just music battles with the three big dudes.
Whatever.
So, my God, everybody hates Gotchard. I am so happy I've never seen this series.
Well, we only watched the first episode.
I know, but it just seems
we will eventually be watching Gotchard. We will.
And Zero Hopper says, I need a sports rider series.
Yeah.
Being the sports is really popular in Japan, I could see it, but I would want them to tackle...
Well, being the sports is very popular, I'm actually surprised they haven't done it yet.
Actually, I was thinking something. If Zets...
Fully clean.
...is perfume, I would actually like a series that focused on beauty standards, body image, and the cancer, not actual cancer, but the cancers of othering people who don't present themselves as everybody else. Like if they're a little bit heavier, if they're not as pretty, or if they're gender fluid or what have you. That I would like. And then we have Kamen Rider, no common runner.
All right. Let's take a break from that so we can get to the last 2 episodes because I'm starting to get hungry. So we've got our finance minister is now Bitter Gavv and just shows up and starts attacking the other riders just to show off his powers.
And then other riders, mainly more so Hanto and...
Well, that's because also at the moment, Shouma comes across Lizelle, who is going around shopping and tries to have the owner who wanted her to pay for the stuff she was getting at the antique store, basically killed.
Yeah, very mob-like.
So Shouma appears, saves the guy, and she's like, I want you to come with me and take me out for dessert. And she just has a little conversation with him at some...
Oh, she is a little conversation. This is the heaviest threat conversation ever. Like, in the sweetest and happiest tones of ever, I will murder everyone you love.
And then...
Basically, because her love for Jeebh basically is saying to him, I don't like you because you killed something that made Jeebh sad, but I also like you because you did something to make Jeebh sad, so he's very tragic. So in a way, I want you to continue doing that to make him more tragic. I'm like, wow, that's... So can you make his life even more miserable because he's more beautiful that way?
But then, so Hanto gets his ass whooped, so Sachika goes to get Dente to come there to help him out. And she finds Dente passed out, helps him up, and sees he's missing teeth.
And well, you have to mention that before this happened, Jeebh comes to Dente.
Well, we had Jeebh coming to Dente. Then we had Jeebh having a conversation with Longo. Longo asking, are you betraying me? And Niev's like, really? Here, let me show you. And that was all we saw of their conversation.
And with Dente, Jeebh found out who the traitor was, finding out it was his great uncle. So he comes talking to him to bring him back home to the family business. Dente basically tells him no. Jeebh leaves a dark confection box on a table. So you have that displayed there. Then you see when Sachika comes that great uncle Dente is pulling his own teeth, sacrificing himself in a way to help create stronger devices to better support the great grandnephew that he actually really cares about. Which, if you're playing favorites right now, Dente really cares for Shouma.
But she made the stupidest mistake by telling him, okay, you go to my place, help Hanto and eat any snacks you need. So she goes to battle, gives Shouma the upgrade form, which at first does nothing. And then it turns out, it's because it needs 100 familiars. So all his familiars sacrifice themselves to become his new form, this giant hulking gummy caramel thing.
Yeah, that looks like it's melting in a way. It looks pretty badass. It looks terrible for the suit actor, I will say, because they're at a bend I feel bad about.
But he doesn't end up destroying the dude yet. And his familiars all go up into familiar heaven.
And he doesn't destroy him because he doesn't know how to control it.
So then they go back to the base, and all the snacks are gone. Well, you told me I could eat whatever I wanted.
And Sachika's like, I kind of did say that.
But now now they have to get new snacks because Shouma has to create 100 new familiars.
And apparently now that he's created so many over time, you can only create one at a time. And Silver Quill keeps on going. So angry. He's like, he never created anything from pancakes. And I'm like, I don't know either, but maybe there's others that
That's
we
because
haven't known.
pancakes is a sweet. It doesn't matter exactly what it is. It's just he has to think about what he's eating, the sweet wise. But anyway, I thought there was a pancake.
I thought there was. Too,
I thought there was
wrong.
one that said pancakes on it.
I thought there was, but I don't know.
But anyway, so he gets up to 97 and can't make any more.
Because he's just eating.
Just for the sake of eating.
And Sachika thinks about, well, when you're eating, you think about your enjoyment of it, the flavors, taste. So she encourages him to grab the delicious book. Kind of reminds me of Alphonse in Full Metal, where he's creating that book of all the things that he wants to enjoy when he gets his body back.
And then also this ties into what I said earlier, where Sachika is like, yeah, hey, well, we have Shouma goes to the snack store that he's been to a few times now, and he was going to buy all these snacks, and the kid was looking at the gummy, and Shouma was like, oh, here, you can have one.
And then he thinks, well, crap, I can't just buy everything. Other people are going to want it too, because he has a huge moral compass. But the one thing that we forget talking about after we get to the 97, or right around that time, is that Hanto and Rakia leave because we find out that Magen, as Bitter Gavv, is destroying the city. Magen proves how this addiction is deadly, because apparently the nobility are actually stronger than the civilian class, which we can see through different elements, even the introductions of Boca and Lizel. So Magen is like, well, they need a lot of people for ingredients. So rather than one by one capturing people, he's like, let's just cut to the chase. Destroys the building.
Well, front of the building.
Front of the building. So nobody is able to escape. And basically, his plan is have all the familiars come in, clean up, exit. And I'm like, so this is what they mean by efficiency. Because in Japan, they have created an efficiency called lean manufacturing, or Kaizen. Kaizen basically means shortening your production lean times by identifying where you can make efficiencies. And I was like, wow, even the Grand nobility understands the Kaizen method. Because you're efficiently creating your stock. And then I felt really dark and disturbed when I thought about them killing all those people. But so that was actually pretty interesting, because all other Granute people coming into the human world are actually being fairly subtle in a way with collecting their ingredients. So they have a subtlety of just getting people one by one without raising any red flags, where Magen decides, I'm just going to get as much as I can in one shot. And are we boring you?
No. I'm listening to you. I'm responding to a text message that says, my outstanding toll balance has not been paid. Failure to pay will result in my vehicle registration being suspended and and legal proceedings against my license. I'm like, so I'm responding, nice try. I don't drive, so I don't own a car, but I hope I don't find you, punk bitch.
Okay, and this had to be done now?
Yes. But I'm listening to you.
I was done. I was going to go back to you if you had any thoughts about this.
No, just the guy is very efficient.
Okay. And did we want to talk about anything else?
Well,
on
I was
this?
getting there.
Okay.
So then we finally have. But what I was trying to say is this is where we came up to the thing where Sachika just bought all the stuff to create the sweets instead of them buying packages of sweets.
Which, in truth, in the long run, is more efficient as well because you can make sweets. You just have to keep up with the ingredients rather than having to go get prepackaged amount that is very small. Now, making gummies is hella difficult, so I would probably recommend they just buy that still.
But so we have Gavv finally does his upgrade farm, which he's still having problems with because he's too slow where the guy's moving very quickly. So Hanto and Rakia have to basically
Partially sacrifice themselves.
grab him to, in a way, tie him down for Shouma to hit him. And that gets him. So I like the aspect that it took all three of them working together to take this guy out.
Now, we didn't talk about the bike fight or the tunnel fight between Shouma and one of Longo's familiars where they're fighting.
The tunnel fight.
Or under a bridge or something.
I'm trying to remember which scene that was. Oh, well.
But at the end of all of this, we do come up to one very special element. Longo is now going to be entering the fray.
Yep, because now he's been demoted to a distributor. Or collector, or whatever it is.
Collector, yeah. And Longo, I'm going to be curious to see how this goes because we actually have not seen him.
Yeah, because Lazal is now the president and Jeebh is the vice president.
And Jeebh is a little bitch
now,
right now.
Okay, actually, thinking about it now, there is one thing I will say is the green screen was not at its best in these last few episodes because when the camera was focusing on like Grota, it got very blurry. Like not even like, okay, we want to full focus on her, so it's going to get blurry in the background, but it got very blurry as if the green screen effects weren't fully finished with the way it was coming out. So I will say that these episodes did have some of the worst looking effects.
It makes me wonder if they're hitting close to their budget on green screen.
Well, I mean, these episodes were filmed months ago, so.
Well, that's what I mean.
Because the whole series should be done at this point, I believe. Because even, I think the movie, because the summer movie was probably filmed after the series was done. But, yeah, so the effects, I will say, weren't the best in these episodes from the green screen aspect. The fight still had some really cool camera work.
Well, I think that also helps because they're still using as much actual fight footage as they can.
Yep.
Not just relying solely on CGI outside of like special attacks and shit like that.
And although there was one fight, I don't remember which one it was, but the fight was starting. They were running towards the monster, and the camera was gliding because it was one of those drone cameras. I'm like, oh, we're in for a good camera work fight, and it cuts to what Shouma was doing, and I was like, no. Oh, you're talking about the fight when before Shouma got to the battle, right?
Yes.
Okay. But then we also had Longo is saying to Jeebh because the president reveals that Jeebh is now his technology department head. And Longo's like, so you're betraying me? He's like, well, I got to go where the job is. Which we all know he actually explained to him at the beginning of the arc, that two-parter.
Well, the one thing I will say is the three older stomachs, because you come to the conclusion earlier on in the series, you have a very separate distinction between the 6 stomach children. Longo, Glota, and Jeebh are older. Oh. And so I almost feel like they may have like the same mom in a way. like they're older. They're the more responsible ones. Then you have Sheeta and Jeebh, who are the same age roughly because they're twins, the same age as Shouma,
No, Shouma was younger.
like a year or two. But you have this distinction between the younger stomachs and the older stomachs. So there is an element where I think Jeebh is angry at his elder siblings, because when you look at the real life ages of the actors, you have Longo, who is my age of 44. Then you have Glota, who's her mid 30s, around 35. Then you have Nielv, who is just about 30 or
Speaking of which, we also had, though, Jeebh, when Longo is given his assignment, and Glota's like, why haven't you done anything with me? Like, worry, and Jeeb's like, well, that's because you didn't do anything to me.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they bring Glota to the home and they show that Jeebh can, instead of transforming into...
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing we missed. We forgot about. That, yeah, Jeebh turns into Sheeta, so it's starting to be like, okay, that's getting a little bit on the creepy side.
Well, I don't know any twins, so I can't speak to how damaging it is if a twin
and this
passes
also
away.
did give me a new theory with when they gave Magen a human form, that all the human forms are actually all the people they turned into dark infections. So does this mean we're going to have Hanto's mom be used by one of the Granuts at some point soon?
Yes. It's kind of a lot of different stuff. And it is very heavy.
Because it made me think of that comment in Lupot when the one Gangler reveals that their human forms are all from their victims.
Mm-hmm.
That they took the skin off of them.
I forgot about that for
Lupot. So that's what I was like, oh my god, they're using the human forms of all the people they turned into dark infections. But that's pretty much, I think, all we've got for these episodes.
And
it was a lot.
Yeah. And I will admit, for everybody on here, I'm not going to read every comment, so I apologize. But I'm just going to look through to see if there's any questions real quick.
Let's see. And anyone we haven't heard from yet.
Yes. I like the Kamen Rider dessert, like they did with Naruto Robin that you just shared. Let's see. The A Game says, wasn't Zeetz currently rumored to have a ninja motif?
I didn't hear anything about the ninja. I've only heard perfume. I heard there was a ninja thing planned for some special, but I don't know if that's true or not. Let's see. Up, and the thing just jumped to the bottom on me.
So
lots of Gotchard.
Mm-hmm. Kubernete asks, I think Dente is one of those, if Hitler repented and became a hermit, would you kill him? The answer is yes. Pirate, a better example will be Oppenheimer. Yeah, I would say Oppenheimer, if he repented for what he did, I think Hitler did genocide.
Hitler's one that you would go back in time and kill when he was a baby.
Yeah, because he killed millions of people. And even not just so, I don't know if I could ever forgive somebody who killed millions.
Isn't each show in its own universe these days? It's hard to know. They keep going back and forth. Technically, I think they are, but then most series.
Like Drive confused me with Ghost.
Yeah, and then Gexade, but it's weird how they do it. Like the Showa era ones are in one universe. Double O's Forza Wizard are in the Showa universe.
They're in the Showa universe?
Yeah, because remember they team up with the Showa Riders.
Oh yes, you're right.
And because Foundation X in that.
Yes. Isn't Gaim part of that too or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
Gaim was its own universe for sure. Obviously Akuga and Agito are in a shared universe because Agito's a sequel to Kuga. The ones after that were each in their own universe. And then Build was in its own universe as it was shown. Geo was in its own universe because it went to different timelines or stuff. And then 0-1 and the Onward, they should be, but there's little things that make them where they're not. It's weird. It's really weird. At this point, I count the crossovers as a separate continuity from the actual series.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's at this point, it's not even worth thinking about. It's just a big nightmare.
Okay, so what next?
Let's see. They continued the discussion. Jeebh and Vrem have so much potential story together, both wanting revenge for siblings. That'd be interesting to have those two cross paths. Jeebh and Rakia.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how they'd work. But yeah, I could see that.
And let's see, Z Cross, awesome song. Z Cross is narrated, needs more screen time. If Ultraman can have kids, why not an old Kamen Rider kid?
I agree. I don't see why you couldn't have a father be a Kamen Rider. You had it practically with Abba Ranger as well.
Because no. What they're saying is having an older Kamen Rider be like the grandfather or father to the new Kamen Rider.
Oh!
Well, that's because the original Kamen Riders were turned into cyborgs. So they can't, from my understanding, they can't procreate anymore because they don't have the working parts.
I don't know.
Get it? Because they were cyborgs?
I'm ignoring you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm missing glasses.
No.
All right. But that's all we've got for this really long discussion on Gavv. Obviously, we wish Silver Quill could have been here to talk about because he enjoyed these episodes as well. Besides the pancake thing, I'm trying to think if there's anything else he had mentioned while we were watching it that stuck out to him.
No, he actually liked it, and he did like the silliness of the two-parter for the barber. I think for him, he just, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I know he enjoyed a lot of the elements of it.
So that's all we've got. As always, click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. You can support us on Patreon and Bluesky at tokuaannetwork, Network, Facebook, Instagram, Discord at Kaiju no Kami. Twitch is tokuaannetwork. Network. And then the website is creativitybydesign.loc.com. You can go to buy Cool Kaiju no Kami merchandise at creativitybydesign.loc.com/shop. Link in the description below. It should also be connected to YouTube now.
Yes.
There is a GoFundMe to help keep the channel alive for another 10 years, but stuff is going to have to be used for medical expenses now as well. So that GoFundMe is not linked in this description.
No, I have to create one because I'm creating a new GoFundMe that's for medical expenses for both him as well as my mother, because Kaiju had to go through a medical procedure to help with his esophagus, which was
expensive.
Which was quite expensive and has the risk of happening again. So we want to have some funds set aside because if it does happen again, it's a $2,000 procedure that unfortunately they don't have any cures for. So that is problematic. And then for my mom, she was diagnosed with pre-cancer or pre-cancerous tumors for breast cancer. And I say it as such because there is a high probability risk that the tumors, currently benign, can become cancerous if she were not to have a procedure. And her procedure, just like Kaiju's, is in the thousands. So even if you can't help, if you could just share the GoFundMe that I'll be creating today, I'll put it in the comments after. If you could just share it out to friends, family, anyone who can be able to help support some medical bills for, especially for my mom, who is
just got kicked off Medicaid.
Just got kicked off of Medicaid because of governmental things. It would be a huge help and much appreciated because one, I love my mom, and two, breast cancer, just like any other cancer, but breast cancer more so for women, is no joke. And at the end of it, if you have a mom or you have a dad,
well, obviously
no, I meant still with us. Hug them and remind them that you love them, even if they frustrate the hell out of you, because you only get one set, and sometimes they're not perfect, but they're still a part of your life.
All right. On that note, look forward to updates to an updated Kamen Rider Black RX review this week. Jude Ranger coming soon. Ultraman Z after Jude Ranger, and an updated version of Toku.
Yep.
And a Godzilla comic this week. That's all we've got. Until next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.